for next year, yeah.
There's some nice pins in this one. Want a pin? Yeah, here. Want one? What else we got? Oh, NODAC cares. All right, it's 5:30. We'll call the April 5th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Call the roll, please.
Barnett? Bauman?
Here.
Demacus?
Yes.
Faken?
Yes.
Gates?
Here.
Hochhalter? Iverson? Kibler?
Here.
Leider? Nestall? Here. Offerdahl?
Here.
Wiganest?
Okay. That's quorum, isn't it? 7? Yes. Okay, we got a quorum. We'll rise for pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next is the approval of the March 1, 2022 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Offerdahl to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Nestall. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, we'll call a roll.
Bauman?
Yes.
Demacus?
Yes.
Faken?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Nestall?
Yes.
Offerdahl?
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Excuse me. Item agenda number 5 has been withdrawn, so we will pass by that and move on to number 6, which I believe is on our abbreviated agenda. You would give us the quick rundown, Mr. Van Dyke?
All right. Thank you, Chairman Demacus, members of the commission. Hope you can hear me all right. So item number 6 is a public hearing request on an application from J. Craig Partners, LLP, representing Gravel Products, Inc., owner for a preliminary plat to divide 2 lots into 3 lots for the purpose of future development. The subdivision is proposed to be known as Stein Industrial Edition. The legal description for the properties is Lot A of Outlot 70 and Outlot 69, less the east 1,000 feet, Section 21, Township 155 North, Range 82 West to the city of Minot, North Dakota. The properties are unaddressed, being located east of 205 42nd Street Southeast and abutting the BNSF main line.
Thank you. So we just have a simple subdivision. We'll open the public hearing at this time. If there's anybody in the audience who has anything to say on item number 6, please come forward. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the hearing on item 6 and turn it over to the commission.
Move to approve based on staff recommendations and finding of fact.
Motion by Commissioner Bauman to approve based on staff findings, fact, and recommendations. Is there a second?
I'd second.
Second by Commissioner Kibler. Any discussion on number 6? All right, hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman?
Yes.
Demacus?
Yes.
Faken?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Nestall?
I'm going to have to abstain just because I work there.
Offerdahl?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 7, again, on the abbreviated agenda item. Mr. Van Dyke, if you would, please.
Thank you, Chairman Demacus, members of the commission. Public hearing request on an application from Ken and Lynette Simonson, owners for a future land use map amendment from industrial to downtown mixed use, and a zoning map amendment from M1 Light Industrial District to CBD Central Business District. The purpose for the request is to facilitate retail activities, including a commercial kitchen. The legal description for the property is the west 67 feet of the north 250 feet of Lot 2 Bayou Edition. The property address is 400 East Central Avenue.
Thank you, sir. I've been seeing quite a few of these Central Business District ones. That's good. So we'll open the public hearing on item number 7. If there's anybody present who wishes to speak, please come forward. right, seeing none then, we'll close the hearing on number 7 and turn over to the commission.
I'll move to approve based on staff recommendation and finding of fact.
Motion by Commissioner Baumann to approve based on staff findings of fact and recommendations. Is there a second?
I'd second.
Second from Commissioner Kibler. Any discussion?
Chairman Demakis, I would just love to, I think, share with the public, this is exciting to see. It's great to see so many of these buildings come into the central business district, but then also to see some thriving businesses moving downtown and investing in our downtown. So thank you for that. And yeah, it's just exciting to see. So thanks for keeping the energy moving forward.
Thank you. Anything else, discussion-wise? All right, we will call the roll then.
Bauman,
Yes.
Demakis?
Yep.
Bacon?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Nestal?
Yes.
Offerdahl?
Yes.
Motion carries. Number 8, zoning and future land use map amendments. It's a request on an application by Roger Mazurik and Nick Gray on behalf of Young Men's Christian Association of Minot for a zoning map amendment from R1 Single Family Residential District to C2 General Commercial for the purpose of aligning the property zoning closer with the existing use of indoor-outdoor recreation. In addition, the request includes a future land use map amendment from low-density residential to commercial. The legal description of the property is Lot 1, Prairie Green 7th Edition, plus half a portion of vacated 36th Avenue Southwest, with a street address of 3515 16th Street Southwest, known as the YMCA building. So we'll turn it over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Demakis, members of the commission. So the subject property is located northeast of the intersection of 37th Avenue Southwest and 16th Street Southwest. The zoning is R1 Single Family Residential and is surrounded by R2 Two Family Residential and C2 General Commercial District. The future land use of the subject property is low-density residential. The property is surrounded by low-density residential to the north and east, and commercial to the south, and general mixed use to the southwest. Here are the findings of fact. And the Planning Commission has the authority to recommend it be approved or denied. I do want to share a very last-minute public comment, since I'm aware of it and I'm able to do so. So I received this at 5:17 p.m. this evening. So it is from Corey Gibbons regarding this case, address 1407 35th Avenue Southwest. Roger Mazurik and the YMCA have initiated rezoning of the YMCA to C2 commercial to avoid doing anything about the air conditioning system that breaks Minot's residential noise ordinance. Understandably, the property should have been zoned commercially from the beginning. I do hope the city of Minot asks the YMCA to put some form of sound-absorbing fence around this unit to decrease the sound it produces. Any good neighbor would. So staff's recommendation is to approve the zoning map amendment from R1 to C2 with no conditions. However, if the applicant is here and able to discuss the concerns of the adjoining property owner, then that would be great. Otherwise, it does not change staff's recommendation, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Any questions from the commission for staff?
Mr. Van Dyke, this is Commissioner Baumann, and I know when we have a commercial zone abutting either an R1 or an R2, a less intensive zone, there are some things in our zoning code that require buffering, landscaping, basically creating a little bit of protection for those residential areas from the C2 zone. Will the YMCA be required to meet those landscaping buffering requirements then, now being C2?
Thank you. Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Baumann. So a zoning map amendment will not trigger those requirements to be established or constructed after the fact. So the existing structure, the existing use is already there, simply moving into a different category of zoning. So any further expansion would be scrutinized if it met the thresholds that would require improvements. But just a simple rezone from one zone to another wouldn't necessarily mean that they're required to do so. And then the reason that, definitely, certainly, the concerns are valid within the code, so Planning Commission can recommend approval or recommend denial. It's not recommend approval with conditions. And so ultimately, it's going to be between the property owners to address this issue.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may. What then is the proposed rationale for the change to commercial from R1 on the part of the Y? If it's been an R1 all of this time, why change now? Is it a significant tax increase to do so, right?
Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Kibler. So in my discussions with the applicant representative on behalf of the Y, it's largely related to signage requests. So at this point, they're R1, and R1 has very limited signage abilities for a site that's functioning really in a commercial intensity. So what they want to do is eventually put a sign closer to the road that's of an appropriate size to reflect the intense use that's on site. So the alternative is any new development by today's standards would require a conditional use permit. We'd evaluate the site. We'd probably require those landscaping buffers. Again, this use has been there for near 20 years at least. So different code, different requirements. And so we've addressed that in our new code, but we can't go back and then retroactively apply the new standards to an existing development.
I know we have this late complaint about an air conditioner noise. Is there any other corroborating information suggesting that this air conditioner noise is a problem?
Yes, it sounds like we've gotten a complaint and it's been forwarded to PD. I'm not sure exactly the status. So I can't really comment on that from planning's perspective.
Is there anyone from, I see Roger over here from the YMCA who can respond to a question concerning the air conditioning?
Certainly at the public hearing component of the meeting, then that would be the appropriate time for them to come up and address those if they so choose.
Any further questions for staff?
I have a really functional one. And this should have been taken care of ahead of time, sorry. If I received a notice because I'm within the notice area affecting this property, is it a conflict of interest for me to vote, or should I abstain?
So unless you have a direct personal and pecuniary interest, you should be voting, so
Okay.
regardless. So, and I'll send some more clarification on when you should not. Effectively, if it's your property, probably not, but in this case, it's not, so
Okay, thank you.
you should vote.
Thank you. Anything else for staff at the moment? Okay, with that, then we'll open the public hearing. So if there's anybody present who wishes to speak, please come forward, let us know who you are, sign in, and the floor is yours.
I'm Roger Mazurek, the director of the YMCA here in Minot. I guess I could ask if you have a question to start with, Bob?
Well, yeah, I guess I'd just like a follow-up on that late complaint that this commercial zone change is really just a way to get out of not dealing with noise from the Wise air conditioner.
No, as I understand it, when you're in a commercial zone, you have to fall under the residential zone if you abut that property. So it actually doesn't change the ordinance at all. It stays the same. So it's really a separate issue.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that a bit? If you change your zone, you have to abide by the ordinance?
Yeah, the commercial zone has to fall into the residential zone. Our noise level has to meet the residential level. They don't have to meet, or they don't have to go, because we're residential or commercial, we don't get to raise our decibel level. It's the same,
Okay, thank you.
no bearing.
Are there any other questions for the commission for the applicant?
Just for some background, we did wrap we insulated our compressors. We spent about $7,000 doing that. And, you know, that was good for, I think we did that maybe 12 to 15 years ago and haven't had any concerns until last year. This gentleman did have an issue with us, and we've been in dialogue back and forth. And at this point, we're doing what we can do. I don't know how it's gonna change anything.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, is he the only person to complain about this noise?
Well, we had a complaint some 10, 15 years ago, and that's why we insulated the condenser. And then after that, we had no more complaints with it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else present who wishes to speak on this agenda item, either for or against? Okay, very well. Seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing on item number 8 and turn it over to the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve based on the staff's finding of fact and recommendations.
Motion from Commissioner Offedall to approve based on staff finding of fact and recommendations. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Second from Commissioner Kibler. Any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes?
Demacus,
Yes.
Faken,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes?
Nestal,
Yes.
Offerdahl.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 9 is a variance zoning map amendment and future land use amendment request from Tyler Oliver on behalf of Colby 2022 LLC, representing Ronald LeCount on behalf of DRL Holding LLP for zoning map amendment from M1 Light Industrial District to C2 General Commercial. Also, it requests a future land use map amendment from industrial to commercial. The request includes a variance to the buffer yard requirements between commercial and residential zoning denoted in Table 7.1-4A from 20 feet to 0. The legal description is Lot 1 of Hacienda Hills 12th Edition, currently unaddressed, but located at the southeast of the intersection of 13th Street Southeast and Valley Street, west of 1710 Valley. So that, we'll turn it over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Demekis, members of the commission. I'm going to be very brief on this one. The applicants actually requested that it be tabled. We are supportive of that. So just with regard to this, the property is located at the intersection of 13th Street Southeast and Valley Street. Staff does have some concerns with the zoning map amendment, future land use map amendment component. As you've probably seen in the staff report, it's surrounded by industrial zoning up and down Valley Street in this particular location. Next month, we will be presenting a text amendment that will benefit all properties that may provide a path forward for this particular applicant that won't involve spot zoning. So that is the preferred alternative to move forward with this particular development as opposed to recommending approval and or denial for a spot zone. We just rather not see that. So the applicant understands that, they're amenable. So that is the recommendation from staff at this point to table it. And if you could just include the date and the time, if you concur with staff's recommendation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. Is there a motion from the commission regarding tabling this agenda item?
I'd like to move to table this item to the May 3rd Planning Commission meeting at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowman. Motion to table to the May 3 Planning Commission meeting at 5:30. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Offerdahl. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. We will call the vote.
Bauman,
Yes?
Demakis.
Yes.
Faken,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestal,
Yes.
Offerdahl.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda 10, item number 10. A major subdivision preliminary plat, zoning and future land use map amendment regarding proposed Maya High School's 2 addition. This is a request on an application from Sean Weeks representing Jared Edwards and Scott Mullen on behalf of Minot Public Schools, owner for preliminary plat to be known as Minot HS2 addition to consolidate 3 lots into one and simultaneously vacate the adjoining portions of unimproved right-of-way denoted as 23rd Avenue Northwest and 22nd Street Northwest. The application also requests a zoning map amendment from C2 General to P Public Zone and a future land use map amendment from commercial to public, semi-public, for the purpose of constructing a new high school with athletic facilities. The current legal description for the properties is lots 1 through 3 ING addition. The address is 2100 21st Avenue Northwest. So with that, we'll turn it over to staff for the report on item 10.
Thank you, Chairman Demakis, members of the commission. The site is located west of the 16th Street Northwest and 21st Avenue Northwest intersection and is the former Cognizant building. So the preliminary plat seeks to vacate the existing right-of-way that presently runs through the site. The 3 existing lots, including the vacated right-of-way, would be combined into one lot. You can see this a little bit better in the zoning map. So right now it's 3 lots. They want to vacate that right-of-way and consolidate those 3 lots into one. So the existing zoning is C2. The school district seeks to change their zoning to P Public Zone. A change in zoning to P Public Zone requires approval of a master plan, which I'll touch on shortly. The proposed future land use is commercial. The applicant seeks to revise the designation to public/semi-public to reflect the use as a new high school. So here's the master plan for the site, and I'll touch on some of the major components of the master plan in more detail. So the green is the existing structures on site. Circled in red are the proposed building expansions. There's 2 of them. One to the main building and the other to the building located to the southwest of the property. Keep in mind that this is oriented where north is facing right. And it will change, just the site is very rectangular in shape and very large. So the main building expansion will be approximately 160,000 square foot. The smaller building expansion will be approximately 7,000 square foot. And this will be to accommodate the vocational programs at the school, at least some of them. So if we want to look at the existing structure, so this is the existing Cognizant building, will be retrofitted to accommodate the lion's share of classrooms shown in green. Several other areas for physical science labs will occupy the far top of the image. That's the blue and gray. I'll kind of just highlight some of the other parts of the expansion. So this is the area that connects to the existing building. So the expansion will include the performing arts and other classrooms for robotics and construction technology. So quite a large auditorium is in there. And these are all not final drafts, so there's probably going to be some modifications to some degree, so don't hold them to it. And I'm sure once they adopt these final plans, they'll post them somewhere that are a bit easier to accessible and you can look at the detail. The expansion will include sports facilities and the cafeteria as well. Again, this is not to scale, as I'm just blowing it up to fit the slide. The expansion is very large, just trying to fit it all. So part of the sports facilities will include locker rooms and the large pool to the far south of the expansion. So as far as parking goes, they're planning for approximately 1,200 students at this with staff of 150. They meet the minimum parking requirements that would be triggered to be 750. They're going to provide 770. The site also provides bus pickup and drop-off locations, and those are circled in red. One of them is located at the main entryway, and then also you can see where it's the longer-term bus parking for when there's events to the north, when I focus on some of the sports facilities that'll be created as part of this development. So I'm going to touch on some of the open areas. Over half of the site is open area and grass. So again, this piece of property is very large. And ponds will comprise a further 8% of space. Another 6% of space will be dedicated to grass turf fields. So there's one primary track and field with seating, and then 2 practice fields that are located to the rear of the high school building. So these fields will be tucked away far to the far north of 21st Avenue Northwest. As far as pedestrian connections to the site, so there are presently 3 planned pedestrian connections to the site with a possible 4th to connect to future development to the north. The 4th to the north is one of staff's recommendations or recommended conditions to include within the approval. With regard to that, staff has discussed the need for future pedestrian connectivity to the north, and the applicant's amenable to this. The site is already designed to accommodate a service road to the far north practice field, and given there will no longer be road connection with associated sidewalk facilities, a pedestrian connection should be provided to serve the development and provide that connectivity to the north when it is developed. An existing shared use path resides along 21st Avenue Northwest. The on-site pedestrian network will tie into the existing shared use path. This is on the east, so pedestrians can use the on-site pedestrian network to access the sidewalk system in the adjoining neighborhood to the east. And again, finally, the west of the pedestrian path will be provided to connect to the residential zone subdivision to the west. That subdivision is presently undeveloped. So here's some of the site photos. This is a view of the subject property from the cul-de-sac at the end of 23rd Avenue Northwest. This is looking north from 21st Avenue Northwest at the subject property. This is what you'd see at the front of the building. So a photo of the on-site stormwater pond behind the primary structure and the residential neighborhood to the east. So these are the findings of fact, effectively summarizing what's contained within the written and oral reports that is provided. Planning Commission has the authority to recommend it be approved or denied. So staff is recommending approval of the items, the future land use map amendment and the zoning map amendment, along with the master plan with some conditions. One of those would be the pedestrian access to the north, which I discussed and provide an image regarding. Just to clarify what my intention was with that. It doesn't have to look exactly how I put it, so that it's not at all what the intention is. It should be easily designed and accommodate connectivity to the development to the north. Ideally within that right-of-way. I presume that right-of-way was selected because it made sense to put a road, so it would make that just as much sense to put a pedestrian pathway. Bit of assumptions on my part, I suppose, but. So ensure morning access is orderly for the market at North Hill Addition. So that is the twin homes to the east immediately. So morning access would be probably that 7:15, 7:30 timeframe, when there's going to be a mass influx of students that would be driving along that residential development, that street. That's the street that's goes in between Market Hill, or Market at North Hill, and then our Marketplace at North Hill, and then the twin home development right across the street. So we certainly don't want to turn that into a total disaster for the property owners trying to back out of their driveway when there's a continuous flow of traffic right at the time that they need to be getting out of their driveways to go to work. So to reduce the impact on the neighborhood, we want to ensure that it's we can control the on-site flow of traffic to ensure that that's not the case. And I don't have a great picture of it, but effectively as you turn into the development, it's a one-way road to get back into the new expansion. So effectively, if anybody did come in that direction, they would be going down a one-way. So I presume that they'll be able to control traffic and discipline the students who are not abiding by the on-site traffic circulation signage. Utility easement of a sufficient width is determined by the engineering department as required for an 8-inch water main loop to run across the property within vacated 23rd Avenue. Obviously, if we're vacating the right-of-way, we still need to connect utilities and loop systems. A lighting analysis on rural section of 21st Avenue Northwest at the driveway intersections is required, and then improvements, if needed, are the responsibility of the developer. It's pretty typical language. Traffic impact study will be required, and any improvements to mitigate impacts would be the responsibility of the developer. As typical, developer agreement is required for the installation of public improvements, and then a stormwater management plan is required. So it's pretty typical conditions for the most part, so I'll stand for questions if there are any.
Any questions for staff from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, one, I'm just very excited about this whole project, but, and maybe this is just a policy question, but is it necessary to vacate those rights-of-ways in order to build those structures?
So I'll bring up, see if we can't, I think you can see, I mean, the expansion would be encroaching within the right-of-way on that particular instance.
So you don't just replat, you have to vacate the right-of-way? That's a part of the procedure?
Yeah. I'm going to defer this to the consultant with regard to, it's my understanding topography and the limited available developable area is really what's creating this circumstance where they want to vacate all this and maximize the site. A lot of this is encumbered. I'm going to see if I can't find a better site plan, maybe just pull out, but it doesn't show as much detail. I know the building expansions encroach into it, as you saw the stadium. So the planned stadium does, the proposed expansion would. So I'll probably defer to Sean to explain specifically what the needs of that are. At the end of the day, I don't know that we want a throughway right through there, through the middle, bisecting a high school.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was just a procedural question. I wondered if,
Sure.
when these things come before the commission, if you have to both replat and vacate right-of-ways, or if you can just replat without having to vacate anything if you replat it.
Formally state that we're vacating it, is that what your question is? Yeah, so that's how it's codified in our platting requirements for vacating a right-of-way. So all adjoining property owners would be notified. In this case, of course, the applicant owns all of the adjoining property. But then, of course, it's up to Planning Commission to recommend approval and council to provide a final approval and evaluate whether or not this makes sense. But yeah, no.
Okay, thank you. I think I got it.
Okay, yeah. I don't think we want a road going right through a high school site at the end of the day.
Any other questions for staff? Yeah.
Just a comment, I want to say, echo my colleague, Mr. Kibler, and what an exciting project, and want to say thank you to staff for particular detail to pedestrian access. I know future development says that there will be some high-density development around here, and especially serving a population that will not have a driver's license for at least their first or possibly second year going here. It's really nice to see that they will still have mobility and access, won't have to come out to a busy road to access school. Yeah, so great to see. Thanks so much for your work on that.
Very good. Anything else for staff on this agenda item? All right. Seeing none then, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this agenda item?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Sean Weeks with Ackerman Esfold, representing the applicant, Minot Public Schools. I'm generally here just to answer any questions that go beyond what you've already asked of Mr. Van Dyke. We concur with staff recommendations, staff report recommendations, and again, happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for Mr. Weeks? Commissioner Bowman?
No questions, Mr. Weeks, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I know this is a preliminary plat, but you have 20 extra parking spaces, which I know is your prerogative as a designer and an applicant to do. If you came back with only the required parking spaces, I would always be in full support of less pavement and a little more grass or permeable space. But that's just me sharing my thoughts.
Sure, and that's appreciated. We're still going through some small iterative adjustments to the site plan, so it's conceivable that we'll end up chewing up a few of those extra spaces, and we'll get closer to the code required minimum.
Anything else for Sean? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on agenda item number 10? All right. With that, I'll close the hearing on this item and turn it over to the commission. Is there a motion?
I'd move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kibler to approve. Is that based on staff findings and facts and recommendations, sir? Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Offerdahl. Any discussion? All right, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Demacus,
Yes.
Faken,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestal,
Yes.
Offerdahl.
Yes.
Motion carries. Which brings us to other business, which is some extensions from 6 months to 12 months on some plat matters. Want to give us a quick rundown, Mr. Van Dyke?
Yep, Chairman Dominguez, members of the commission. If you recall, some of the common conditions for plats under the older subdivision code would be that 6-month language. So this is why we've changed it now in the new code to be a default of 12 months. Gives applicants that much more time. These 5 plats are running up on their threshold. I think some of them have submitted at this point, but it doesn't hurt to provide an extension they don't need. So if you could recommend, staff's recommendation that we just approve these extensions, let them get on their way, and new plats will fall into that 12-month default that's provided by our code.
Very good. Just a little housekeeping then, essentially.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Very good. Any questions for staff? All right, not seeing any, I would entertain a motion if anyone so chooses.
Make a motion to approve the extension to 12 months as submitted by the city staff.
Motion from Commissioner Offerdahl to extend as based upon the presentation from staff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Bauman. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Demacus,
Yes.
Faken,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Nestal,
Yes.
and Offerdahl.
Yes.
Motion carries. With that, there is nothing further on the agenda, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.